Hello there. This is the nice grow bed side of the greenhouse, and this is the messy side of the greenhouse where I sort of hang out, do a lot of different projects and whatnot. So I think it's about time to expand the grow beds and get the greenhouse up and running to almost its fullest potential. These videos are partially supported by our Patreon contributors. Our top contributors are trueaquaponics.com and glassbottleoutlet.com. Thanks for your support. It's been about 5 years since we started up the greenhouse, so 6 or 7 since the site was graded off and whatnot. And the one side of this greenhouse, we actually filled that part in. And it has settled just a little bit. Not very much, but it's not perfectly level anymore. Plus the floor where it has settled down, I get some water that will accumulate in there just from the rains outside. Overall, the whole floor is just a hair too low, so if we get a large rain event, some of the surface groundwater from the outside will get onto the floor in here. So while I have this side completely wide open, I bought a truckload of crushed granite, which is basically a stone dust, and we'll get that spread out. It's the same material that's currently in the floor here, and it packs down really nicely. It helps to keep the weeds under control, more or less, but it does pack out and level out nicely. So we're gonna lay down a new floor in here, raise it up about 1 inch. It came out to be about 15 yards of material to calculate it, so it was a lot to have to shovel into here. And we'll start off the project with that. It's sort of hard to see the unevenness of the floor on camera, but you can see the high spots where it's white, that's the salts that never get washed out, and then some lower spots here where you get a little algae growth or whatnot. This part gets wet a lot. So from here to here, it's about 1 inch off, and the whole floor undulates like that, so it'll be nice to get it smoothed out again. Again, it's tricky to get it on camera, but if you look down the line of this grow bed, it does go up and down a hair. Of course, the water level stays the same, so I have to be careful not to overflow the bed because it will overflow in those few low spots. The original layout for this was to have this 8-foot bed here, and right next to it another 4-foot bed. And I was essentially just going to put a little catwalk in between it so I could access this if I really had to. And this is just going to be a big monocrop assembly line of just lettuce or something. So then after this 4-foot, there's going to be an aisle and another 4-foot. But instead what I'm going to do is make a 4-foot against this wall here, have a 4-foot aisle roughly. I'm going to move this 8-foot bed down the center, another aisle, and another 4-foot bed. So in this aisle, I'll be able to access all the plants and reach over to the 4-foot bed, reach over 4 feet into this 8-foot bed. And then from this other aisle, I'll be able to reach in and access the far 4-foot bed and this 8-foot bed. So I'm really going to lose about 400 square feet of grow space by doing that. But I think overall I'll be able to offer a better variety of crops to everyone. These are the parts that I rarely show on camera, all the messy areas, but I need to get all this cleaned up. A pile of expanded shale, miscellaneous plumbing, dead plants, boxes of plumbing parts. These are all the parts for my strawberry rig that I'm slowly getting together. All types of stuff. Grow bed that I had my onions in, never bothered to clean that out. Extra rafts, and of course the hammock. All kinds of stuff. So we'll get all this cleaned up and it'll make it far easier to get some sand in here. In this section I had this piece of greenhouse ground covering. It's used as a weed barrier. It works great as a barrier, but it's a real nuisance to try to rake any debris off of it because the rake just gets caught in it. The other problem with this is that the ants like to dig underneath it because they're somewhat protected, and all their little mounds and everything make the floor uneven. So when you're walking on it, you keep tripping over these little holes. Found a few spots where the mice have burrowed through here too, but the ants are a big problem. So with the next one, I'm just gonna put down the gravel or the sandstone dust, and that will not have any ants. When I originally built the greenhouse, I had no end walls on it, so it was easy to get the sand into there. But now I have to do it one wheelbarrow at a time, and I'm getting too old to keep shoveling this in. It was 25 shovels per wheelbarrow, and my old back can't handle it, so we're taking the easy way out and filling them up with the backhoe. It was raining really hard yesterday, so this sand is super wet. So we're just gonna spread it out a little bit, let it dry out for a couple days, and then I'll come back and rake it out level again. Last year I bought this cheap automatic laser level because I installed a patio and walkway at the house and wanted to make sure that was nice and level, or at least shed water, and it worked pretty well. When I built the original greenhouse, I borrowed my neighbor's level, and I'm not exactly sure how perfectly level it was. In fact, I'm not sure how good this one is, so we're going to do a quick test to make sure that it's working properly. If you're not familiar with how one of these works, there's basically a rotating laser inside of this and a detector that you can move up and down, and it beeps slow if you need to move your bottom point down, or if you're too low, it beeps faster for you to raise it up. So when you get into the middle, or roughly in the middle, this is where your final elevation is supposed to be. So if we check it, the water, as soon as I touch the water inside the bed, I'm basically at my level. So we're gonna actually test this on one end of the bed to the other, because it's 98 feet long, and assuming the laser is shooting out perfectly level, our natural level of the water should be the same on both sides. Okay, I'm about 3 or 4 millimeters below the water level on that side, and about 3 or 4 millimeters below on this side, so it's the same on both sides. So that means that the laser is shooting nice and level. Now I need to set a benchmark. My final grade's going to be the same as the threshold on the door. So I'm just going to set my little pipe here on the bottom and move this up or down until it knows it's at 0. That's close enough. If I'm within a millimeter or two, it won't make any difference. Now that I have some of this raked out, let's see where we are with our levels. Alright, that's going to be a hair too low. That's real close. That's pretty close. That's about a ½ inch too low. And that's about 3/4 of an inch too low. So rake it out a little bit, and then we'll bring in a compactor and see what it looks like then. One other toy I bought this past year was this plate compactor, because it was cheaper to buy one than it was to rent it for a couple of weeks when I did my patio project. So now I get the benefit of having this around all the time. So we'll get all this compacted down. We'll check the level again, fill in, and cut down any of the high spots, and eventually we'll get a nice flat floor. Piece of electrical conduit works pretty good. Here I'm on a high spot. It's a little bit of low here, so yeah, that's a hair low. So we can shave off the high spot, or throw a couple shovelfuls of dirt in here, because I think overall we're a hair low in this spot. This is a pretty good low spot here, so we'll just throw a few more shovel loads in. It took a few days, but it's all nice and level now. The whole thing is within about a half an inch, which is much better than what it used to be. A couple spots that went up and down by a couple of inches, so I'm pretty happy with the way that this turned out. Up next is to start putting a raft system right over in here. So that's it for laying out the floor. As you can see, my deep water culture bed's in place already, so that's going to be the next video. After editing down the floor one, it ran a lot longer than I was expecting it, so I'm going to break it up into a second video. So next time around, you'll get to see how this is all put together. Thanks for watching.